Today in the workshop we're going to be building a small Christmas sleigh that you can build from a $3 cedar fence plank you can find at Home Depot. All you need is thousands of dollars of additional tools. I start by cutting out what I think is the shape of a side of a Christmas sleigh. Over to the planer to smooth out the surfaces of that cedar fence plank. Transferring the pattern onto the board, and then we're going to head over to the miter saw so we can cut it to a more manageable size. Turn on the air compressor, fire up the brad nailer so we can pin these two boards together. Then we'll be able to cut both of them in the bandsaw at the same time. At the bandsaw to cut out the sides of the sleigh. This is sped up to like 800 times normal speed, I think, just to get through this. Now over to the oscillating spindle sander, changing the drums in there so we got a better size. Go through these plates, and then we're going to round out, smooth out these edges. Separating the two pieces that were nailed together. Now at this point, you'll start to realize I'm really just winging it here. I'm trying to make a shape for the back of the sleigh that's rounded so everything doesn't start to look too flat. Back over to the bandsaw to cut those shapes out, and hopefully everything will come together after. But like I said, I had no plans when I was making this. This is all fly by night here. And back over to the spindle sander. I'm using way too an aggressive tooth blade on that bandsaw, so these are really rough cuts. Gotta smooth everything out. And now over the glue up. This is really sped up. I had no plans for how I was going to get these pieces to hold together. I didn't have any clamps in play. I was just going to glue this up and hopefully hit it with the brad nailer, and everything was going to hold in place. Which eventually it did, but it was difficult, a little tricky to get this all to line up properly. Back over to the bandsaw to cut out a bunch of narrow strips that I'm going to use to contour the curved edges to the sides of the sleigh. Looks like I have a little mini lumber yard going on here. Now I'm going to glue up those little strips and hit them with the brad nailer all around the back of the sleigh along the contour of that curve. Same plan for the front of the sleigh. Just follow the contours with the narrow strips of the cedar wood. Now it's time to make the skis that go underneath the sleigh. I'm splitting this in half. It's double thick. It's left and right skis here. I don't know anything about skis, but I imagine they look like this. Glue these two pieces of wood together because they're going to be double thick. Brad nailer again so they stay together. And then we're going to head over the bandsaw eventually. Starting to look like skis. Back to the spindle sander again. I think you're starting to see a pattern here. Cut it out on the bandsaw, smooth it out on the spindle sander. Now, I can't imagine this was something I did wrong, but somehow the skis are two different heights. So, with the hand plane, we're just going to take off a little bit and get these even. Can't do everything on the spindle sander. Eventually got to break down and sand some things by hand. And more sanding. A lot more sanding. Let's just speed past all the sanding. I'm just putting a mark here so I can try to mount these skis evenly on the bottom of the sled. Like everything, I'm just attaching it with glue and a brad nailer. I couldn't figure out a way to actually clamp the skis on here, so I just dropped this angle block on there. Seemed heavy enough. This is kind of the pimp my Christmas sleigh portion of the video. I'm just cutting out some extra trim to put on the sides so it doesn't look too flat. And it'll also cover up some of the things I don't like too much. Tracing the outline here so I can attempt to make a shape that'll perfectly line up with the front of the sleigh on the bandsaw. This is kind of what I'm hoping it's going to look like. Back at the bandsaw, and this smaller piece really shows you that I need to get the proper blade to cut out something this detailed on here. Back to hand sanding. We'll just speed through it again. To finish it out, I'm just going to glue up the trim work I cut out, and that should be the end of it. Final thoughts on the project? It looks like a Christmas sleigh. It's kind of what I had pictured in my head before I built it, but maybe if I'm still making YouTube videos in a year, we'll revisit it and I'll try to even make a better one.